Good evening. Welcome to the October 1st Town Council meeting. Let's stand to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So Councilman Moretti is out of town, is not able to attend. So good evening. First order of business is approval of the minutes, September 4th, 2018, a work session meeting. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
4-0, motion passes. July 2nd, 2018. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Motion.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion?
This is the ones I did, right? Yeah.
Well done.
They weren't in my. I gave it, but I didn't have my own copy. Yeah.
Second it. Jill, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
4-0, motion passes. August 6th, 2018, the executive session. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Was I at that one?
No.
No. Right. Yeah.
No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain. I wasn't at that
3
one.
with 1 abstention. And the last one is August 20th, 2018. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Is that a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0, motion passes. Next, we have a showcase, we have a presentation, but I just would like Aiden to come up for a second. He's an Eagle, working towards his Eagle Scout, so I noticed him in the audience, happy to have him, and he's just going to come up and say a little something. So welcome.
Hello, I am Aiden Saunier, the current Senior Patrol Leader of Troop 2 Narragansett of this great town, and I am here to complete my Eagle Required Merit Badge, Citizenship and Community, so that I may continue on my trail to Eagle. Thank you.
Thank you. Best of luck. I have a couple of announcements just before. I just want to make a couple announcements about the upcoming voting. Sunday, October 7th, is the last day to register to vote in order to be eligible in the November 6th election. Voter registration forms are available at the Narragansett Police Station at 40 Caswell Street, and it's open from 10 to 4. Register to vote online at sos.ri.gov anytime until midnight, October 7th, 2018. To register to vote in person at the Board of Canvassers at 25 Fifth Avenue, Narragansett, Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 4:30. So please make sure if you're not registered that you take care of important business. Next, I'd like Joe Vinci and partner to come on up to the podium for proclamation. So this evening, we have some Narragansett lifeguards here, so we're happy to have you. I have a proclamation on behalf of the town. It's a proclamation honoring the Narragansett Surf Rescue Lifeguards on winning the 2018 State and Eastern Regional Lifeguard Competition, along with the outstanding service to the town of Narragansett and its beach. Whereas the Narragansett Surf Rescue Lifeguards, the Lifeguards, won 2018 Rhode Island and Eastern Regional Lifeguard Competition, and whereas the lifeguards, led by Waterfront Director Mike Florio and Captains Brian Guadagno and Nick Ross, successfully trained, prepared for those competitions, and whereas the lifeguards, a staff of both seasoned veterans and well-trained newcomers, effectively protected the hundreds of thousands of beach patrons on a daily basis during the 2018 beach season at the town beach. And whereas the lifeguards throughout the 2018 season were successful with numerous rescues, running several educational work sessions for the beach patrons and the dangers of rip currents and water safety techniques. And now, therefore, it will be resolved that the Narragansett Town Council extends its hearty congratulations and sincere thanks for your outstanding achievements and all the hard work and dedication towards their work at the Narragansett Town Beach during the summer season of 2018. Thank you very much. Next, we have some updates on the Beta Engineering, the road project, so I'm going to turn that over to the town manager.
Thank you, Madam President. There isn't a week that goes by that I don't get inquiries about roads and where a resident stands on having his road rebuilt, repaved, drainage issues, and so forth. We have a bond that's on the agenda tonight for an additional $5 million for the improvement of the roads. But I thought it would be, communication's everything, and I thought it would be a good idea to have the Beta Engineering come quarterly with the DPW director and just explain to the residents and the town council exactly where we are in this process. Tonight, I'd like to introduce Nicole Iannuzzi. She's the senior project manager. We had a meeting approximately 2 months ago, she and she laid out everything that needed to be done in the town and where we stood with all the engineering that had been done by Beta Engineering. So I would invite Nicole to come up to the microphone, please. She has a very brief presentation, and then the town council can ask any questions if they have any.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Nicole Iannuzzi with Beta Group. I'm the design engineer for the roadway improvement projects for the town. Just start with a little of the history. The 2012 bond referendum allowed the town to reconstruct the roadways which were considered to be in the worst condition. The work under this bond was divided into 3 phases. Phase 1 consisted of 30 roads. Those roads have been completed at this point. Phase 2 consisted of 33 roads. They're presently in construction and being administered by the town. Phase 2B included 4 roadways. Jean Street and Lambert Street have been completed. East Shore Road and Carver Lane are still in the permitting process. The CRMC public review period ends October 5th. The permit will be issued immediately after the review period, and construction is expected to be completed by the winter of 2018 shutdown. Phase 3 consists of approximately 40 roads. These roadways fit into 3 different groups. There are roadways that do not require any design. 15 of the 40 roadways fall under this group, and they have already been completed. Roadways requiring design but no permitting, and roadways that require design and permitting. The schedule for the remaining Phase 3 roadways, not including construction, would take approximately 7 months if no permitting is required, or approximately 10 months if permitting is required. I've attached a breakdown of the required tasks and their duration for the projects requiring design only and projects requiring design and permitting. So you can take a look at that breakdown. And if you have any questions on any of this, feel free.
I had one quick question there. South Pier Road. Is that 2020, I believe?
I believe that's part of our Phase 3, which should be coming up as well.
Okay. So when's the completion on that road?
I'm sorry?
When is the completion on South Pier Road?
It would depend on whether that would require design only or
Right.
design and permitting.
Right.
So the roads that just require the design should be
Right.
ready by next spring.
Okay.
And the roads that require the design and the permitting should come in June or July and be ready.
Yeah, those are those 40 roads, but you don't have a list of those roads, huh?
I don't have an available list, but I can definitely get that list to you.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
So the road improvement is a big issue in the town. People care about the infrastructure.
And it's an election year.
Yeah. But it has been, we've got a lot of activity on what's happening with the road, so appreciate you coming and giving an update, and I think so that the public, and people here tonight can hear there's ongoing work and where we are in that work, because those are commonly asked questions about when's my road going to be done, and, how this permitting process, so it's become frustrating for some of the residents because they care deeply about the infrastructure, and it's been a little bit of a delay, basically, sometimes from a permit aspect, but so we've dealt with some constituents that have not been as satisfied as we'd like them to be.
Okay.
I think South Pier Road is part of the TIP. It received tip funds.
It was.
So it's not as much integrated into the bond.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's 2020.
If you could get that list to Jim, that would be really important for us to
Sure.
be able to get out. Thank you.
Can you just repeat on East Shore Road, because that was one that came up a lot? You said it was in the permitting process, but we thought we had passed that.
Actually, I think Jim might have an update for us on that.
So it is in the permitting process because there's there was a 30-day window for an appeal on the roadway, but October 5th is when that period would end, and then I've talked to the director about it, Mike DeChico. Nicole's aware of it, and hopefully we're going to start at 12:01 on the 6th, but we're going to start very soon after. So while it is officially in the permitting process, everything's in line to start construction right away. We have 2 road crews with D'Amber Construction that are working with us. We did have 1 in the past. We have 2 now. So that's why you'll see an increase in the amount of funding that we're going to have for these bonds, and you'll see more activity with the roads being reconstructed.
Thank you. Any other questions from the council?
I think we're good.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any communications from the town council or the town manager on any? That was a newly added thing for Mrs. Garceau, if you remember. Jim, do you have any communications or correspondence that it's a new item on the agenda?
Not this evening, no. This was it, the
No,
road
that's
ones,
fine.
okay.
That's fine. That was a result of Mrs. Garceau's request.
And we got the Garceau clock because of Mrs.
that's right,
Garceau.
that's
Yeah,
right.
we got the,
Okay, so we have
Anybody remembers?
a motion to schedule a public hearing on a petition for Bonnet Shores Beach Club Condominium Association to allow live entertainment on Friday evening from, yeah, I'm going to get to open forum. This is just a scheduling, Ann, correct? Okay, Richard's anxious to speak. Come on up, open forum, Richard. Do you have a date for that, Ann? 15th, okay. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Richard Vangermersh, even though I may sound like the senator from Arizona, Senator Flake. The library proponents are all well-meaning and nice people, all bright and dedicated people, fighting for a tremendously good cause indeed. But they have to face, and we have to face, or as Joe Friday would say, the facts. I want the facts. The ultimate question, will there be enough money to do what they desire as this space is ever growing? We seem to having a shrinking pot of money over an ever-increasing space. I urge that there be a meeting of the Library Projects Committee and or more than one architect, the Rhode Island Library Administrator who's involved with this, and the town council and the public right now, within a week or two, so that confidence in the financial situation can be reestablished. A pause is needed. Some transparency is needed to get the public on board before the situation gets so out of control that needed donors, and we're going to lead a lot of donors, will be unsure about what they're giving for. Believe me, no one wants to give. When you look at your giving, and you would say, oh my God, this is going to build an elevator to the second floor, for instance, which is our answer to the bridge from nowhere in Alaska.
Thank you, Richard. Stanley?
Stan Wojciechowski, Narragansett. I want to talk about justice for all. And what gives us justice for all? Well, one item that gives us justice for all is the single tax rate. Over the last decade, I bet we spent probably over $1 million for our assessor and assessor details to provide that justice for all with our taxation. And I saw my grandson the other day. He's about to graduate from college. And he looks like a child that I was when I left my family and my fiancée to be trained by the military to fight for justice for all. And now I stand here still fighting justice for all 50 years later. And that's a single tax rate. A single tax rate. No corruption, I call it corruption, giving somebody less taxation than others. And in order to kind of help this along, I promised to provide 11 spots for political signs to those candidates who would support the justice of a single tax rate. Thank you.
Thank you, Stanley. Anybody else wishing to speak at open forum? Seeing no hands, let's move on. We're going to schedule public hearing, a motion to schedule a public hearing on a petition from Bonnet Shores Beach Club Condominium Association to allow live entertainment on Friday evenings from Friday on Memorial Day weekend to the last Friday in September. The scheduled date is October 15th at 8 o'clock. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have any discussion? Any discussion about the scheduling? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0, motion passes. A motion to reschedule a public hearing on the application of Mike Vickers to amend Chapter 731 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, entitled Zoning, adding a new planning district, Section 484, Boone Street Special District, to schedule, this is for the scheduling of December 3rd. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor of scheduling the public hearing?
Aye.
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 4-0, public hearing scheduled. Pat, say again? Yeah, I said December, didn't I? I thought I did. You're just checking.
And just a
Thank you.
point of clarification, the first one was
12/3.
October 15th, right?
First one was October, and this one says 12/3. Thank you, Ann.
12/3.
Anybody from the council have any items on the consent agenda that you'd like to pull?
Negative.
Anybody?
No.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
4-0, motion passes. That's the consent agenda. This is new business. Motion number 9, a motion to approve the request from the Goodwill Industries of Rhode Island to place a donation bin on a trial basis at the community center. Do I have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Discussion. Jim?
Yes, Madam President. Approximately 2 months ago, I met with the Director of Donated Goods, Mr. Kevin Fissette. He's in the audience. Mr. Fissette, if you could just come up to the mic in 1 minute. Well, you can come up now, I'm sorry, and I'll have you speak in just 1 minute. So, Mr. Fissette met with me. He represents Goodwill Industries, and he made a request that a clothing bin be located somewhere in town. South County has very few bins of any type in any town in this South County area, to include Goodwill Industries. We spoke about it and decided that because this had come up in the past in another council regarding another type of clothing bin, that it should probably be discussed by the council here tonight. So, Mr. Fissette, I'll turn it over to you just to explain what this is and what your request is, and where possibly it could be located in the town. We spoke about the community center.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Manning. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to speak to this council tonight. Goodwill, we are in the business of training people with disabilities and other barriers to getting jobs, get them into the workplace. We've been in the state of Rhode Island since 1863 with 5 different names. Most recently, we are incorporated under Goodwill of Southern New England, now based out of North Haven, Connecticut, but we ourselves are based out of Providence. We're not getting the grants from the federal government and the state that we used to get for our training programs. That has hurt us very seriously. As a result of that, we rely more heavily than ever on the revenue raised by donations. 90% of the revenue realized by the sale of donated goods goes directly to our training programs for, in this case, Rhode Islanders with disabilities and other barriers to employment. So I had met with Mr. Manny, and we had spoken about the possibilities, and what I would recommend is if the council would consider the possibility of Goodwill placing a donation bin at the community center on a trial basis. What makes us different than our competitors is that anybody who has one of our bins has my cell phone number. And my guarantee is that if there is ever an issue, we will address it, we will take care of it within a 24-hour window of time maximum. If anybody needs references, I would be very happy to steer you with other municipalities, or we work with several school districts statewide. And I'd also mention to Mr. Manny that we would be willing to pay the town 4 cents for every pound of clothing and textiles placed in the donation bin. Not only is this a great help to us, it's also a great help to the town, because every town needs to submit a report on how much is being kept out of the landfill. One other item that is in our future right now is we are expanding into the southern part of the state. My charge now from my boss is I'm meeting with realtors in the southern part of the state to look at the possibilities of opening a retail store somewhere between Narragansett, Westerly, Charlestown, in this part of the state. So we're trying to get ourselves entrenched. And we will also be opening what we call attended donation centers. Some of our competitors have those now where people can make their donations at any time they want, and they're given a donation form for tax purposes. So I respectfully request the council consider my request to place a donation bin at the community center or some other place. I recommend that on a trial basis. I would suggest 3 months initially, see how it goes, and it'd be a privilege for us to be part of the town of Narragansett. Thank you for your time.
All right.
Any questions from the council?
Yeah, I just...
Jim, can you mentioned that this came before another council, and obviously it didn't come to fruition. Can you explain why?
I wasn't here when that discussion took place. I don't know if the 2 senior council members were, but the concern with something like this, and Mr. Facette was right up front with us, was that there be vandalism, would be used as to dump unwanted items that are not used by Goodwill Industries, like couches and chairs and stuff like that. So that, I believe, was the crux of what the council struggled with last time. What I would say is Mr. Facette came with good references. He seemed very sincere, and that if the council did vote for a trial basis, I'm confident that he's a man of his word, and that if there was an issue, we would get it resolved within hours of us calling. So that concern that I had was alleviated. But I think Councilman Mannix was present at that council, and he could speak further on that.
No, I mean, I'm fine with it. I just had a question about when people leave this stuff, because I had one at my school, and sometimes, you know, I'd leave work and there'd be like a couch at the end of my school entrance. And so it looks like that this Goodwill bin is much smaller.
Yes.
And I feel comfortable that there's a pilot period just to make sure that we, if we were to agree to this, that there wouldn't be, furniture left over by the community center, that it would be well monitored and people would use it to drop and it would be picked up appropriately.
Absolutely, and
So-
I would expect really that if there ever be an issue, that somebody would call, and it would make sense for me to, if it were at the community center, that I make sure that they have my cell number. I think somebody would make sense for them to have it, because they'd be the ones who would be readily available to see what's going on.
Okay, and then I want to defer to my president pro tem, because I don't remember why it was a problem.
That was it.
Oh,
What
because
you
of the,
said. So,
leaving the stuff.
so the concern, I remember, and I don't remember if it was a vote or not, or if it was on the agenda and then somebody pulled it. It wasn't a lot of conversation, but it was about the overflowing, not just items that didn't belong there. So, and then who would that fall on the town staff? So that a town department would then have to be going to clean that up. And my recollection was that it would have fallen on Public Works. It's too bad, because I saw Mike here. I was going to ask him, so we may want to have a conversation with some Public Works department about it, because that's what I remember about it.
If this falls
the
on-
concern was it would fall on them.
I'm sorry. If this were to, this should not fall on Public Works. If it is, we're not doing our job at Goodwill.
Right, but that was the concern, right? That if it wasn't being done, then people were going to clean it up. We're going to send either Public Works or Parks and Rec or somebody.
That's our
So,
responsibility to do that.
24 hours, the guy said 24 hours.
Yeah, so Matt, and we didn't have a location. This seems, was there a location for the last one? I can't remember.
I think it was around here.
I-
Do you remember it? Was it at the Public Works Department?
There was, in having conversation with some of the senior people on the senior management team, there were two locations. One was at Public Works that was being discussed as a location, also at the town hall.
I thought it was Town Hall. Yeah, that was my
Okay, so-
recollection.
So
Yeah.
the location's a community center. It's 3 months. We have your word. I'm good. Anybody?
Yeah,
Just a quick question. Why come to a municipality? You see these set up in office parks. Why come to a town rather than, I mean, I see them, if you go down Route 108, you can see your competitors' bins out elsewhere. And as, and Matt had just explained, and Susan as well, you often see them overfilled and with furniture. That's a concern that obviously the former town council had as well, but it's my
Right.
key concern.
And I understand that completely. And the reason I come to the town is because I believe it carries a lot of weight if I have the support. If the actual placement of the bin has the support of the town council and the town manager, I believe that goes a long way, saying that they believe it to be a credible program.
As far as the funding for this, I know that there are some, and they've been, I think it's Planet something or other.
Planet Aid,
Yes,
probably, yeah.
and they've had some issues with as far as where the money goes. Can you
Right.
explain to us where the money goes?
Yes, 90% of the revenue that we get from the sale of these items, or recycling, the saleable items, of course, are sold retail-wise, and anything that is, we still want stuff in those bins that's ripped, stained, or worn out. As long as it's textile, we ask that it be dry, clean, and odor-free, and that the rest of the donations that are not saleable will be recycled, and again, the money will go right back to fund the training programs. And the way we would figure the weight would be a full bin is 500 pounds, and accordingly, a half bin, 250 pounds. So, I mean, if we could get the bin filled every week, which I believe is realistic, at that point, you'd be looking at close to $1,000 annually for whatever cause that the town were to see fit for the proceeds raised by this.
Yeah, the 4 cents doesn't really, matter too much to me. The programming itself, would that be then focused in South County area, or is this, the money will be used statewide? or-
Statewide.
Okay.
Statewide. We do have clients from all over the state, every end of the state, and every age and every demographic of people comes to us as well. So it is all coming back to help Rhode Islanders get to work, especially Rhode Islanders who have a barrier to getting a job. And those barriers take every shape.
Well, I'm looking for a job right now. I need a new sport coat for the election, so. I'm on board with this. I think we should waive the 4 cents. Let them place it there for the bubble. And instead of 3 months, let it go 6 months. What's the big deal?
I'm not sure how the council's feeling, so before we modify his position, I'm hearing to the left, there might not be support for the motion, so let's just talk about it. I mean, where are you guys?
I'm just concerned about, as the last council was, is about just the furniture. And I mean, people aren't going to be at the community center 24 hours, 7 days a week. So it's very easy, especially I'm just imagining when the times change and the students leave and there's going to be an easy place for people to drop things off. I mean, Susan, that's my big concern on this.
Okay, Matt?
Yeah, I'm open, but I just don't want it to fall on the town staff if it's overflowing.
I don't want that either.
I'm gonna see if the public wants to speak to it, and then I'll call it to a vote. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you
Anybody
for your
from the
time.
public want to speak on the Goodwill bin? I have no problem. I trust that you seem like you're gonna pick it up or be on top of it. So a pilot program means to me, if it's not working in 3 months, we're gonna call you up and say, move it out.
Can we waive the 4 cents?
Well,
Why are we going to take 4 cents?
I don't think we're gonna have a vote to pass tonight, so I'm gonna call all those in favor of the Goodwill bin, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed,
No.
No.
You guys going to vote against Goodwill in an election
so
year?
the motion fails.
That's not true, Patrick.
Good
Let's
God.
be very
What are we,
careful
heathens?
with your words.
Are
Very
we
careful with
All
your
right, all
words.
right. Sorry, thanks, Kevin. Moving on,
Good God.
number 10, a motion to introduce, read, pass, and accept as a first reading an ordinance adopting revisions to the Narragansett Pier Urban Renewal Project. Land use plan as paragraph C2A and on the boundaries and land use map. Do I have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
I'll second. Any discussion?
So the vote on the content of this motion has taken place. I just had a question about the appeals period on this. So why does the appeals period not start till after the second reading of the ordinance?
Mike? Oh, I'll defer to the solicitor.
My understanding is that the appeal process runs, the clock commences with the recording of the decision. And that decision was recorded, in my understanding, was the day after the decision was rendered.
Thank you, Mark. Any other discussion?
Yeah, because we know there's an appeals period. So when does that appeals period end? October 8th?
The 8th is my understanding. It runs on October 8th, meaning October 9th would be the first date that the closing could occur.
So if people have read the purchase and sales agreement on this, if there's an appeal of this, of the decision that was recorded, there's an ability for both Gilbane and the town to walk from the deal. And I know there's been a lot of talk about who is appealing and if there's people appealing, and we had somebody speak at the last meeting who it brought up new concerns. So, you know, if somebody wants to appeal this, it's an opportunity for them to do so. There's a process to do that. If I wasn't on the town council, I would appeal it because the deal's a disaster.
I'm just saying with this number 10, it is for the first reading, but in absence of Mike, should we hold it? I mean, I'm looking for some advice. Would that create a problem?
Mark, a 2-2 vote would fail it, and then would have to go back to a first reading at some future point, correct? Okay,
That's correct.
there we go. So I don't think these two folks are with us on this
Yeah,
one.
so do you want to table until Mike comes back? Do I have a motion to
I
table?
guess we're gonna I move a motion to table this number 10.
15.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
4-0, motion passes. Number 11, a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the town to issue up to $5 million general obligation bonds and/or notes for the road bond fund. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Happy about this? Anybody from the public? Seeing no hands, all those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. Number 12, a motion to send a letter to the Public Utilities Commission, the PUC, objecting to the settlement agreement between Suez Water of Rhode Island and the PUC. Do I have a motion?
So move.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? Jeff, do you want to say anything on this? You were very nice in explaining it, maybe just 2 sentences on it. No, I think it was helpful, so, just so the public knows.
Timing's difficult for Suez to ask for a rate increase after the water crisis.
So, no, thanks, Jeff. I didn't want to put you on the spot, but
No, that's
I did
fine.
call you to understand.
I've been kind of living this for a little while,
Yeah.
too, but don't shoot the messenger. Actually, the Suez request for a rate hike goes back to January of this year, when they approached the PUC. They've gone through a number of hearings throughout the course of the summer before the PUC, and inches and inches of documentation back and forth. It appears that there's a settlement agreement in play between the PUC and Suez. Now, we are not a party to that. That's something that is difficult for me to accept, difficult for a lot of people to understand, but we don't have a seat at that table. We can certainly testify, we can certainly weigh in, we can and should send a letter, but we're not a party to the settlement agreement. The agreement will be between the PUC and between the utility company. And as the settlement agreement sits today, the direct impact on us, it calls for a 10% increase in the sales for resale, which is the wholesale rate at which we buy water. A 10% increase would mean about $37,000 a year to us in the first year for purchased water. The other item that impacts us directly is a public hydrant charge. Because hydrants, or water that flows through hydrants, is unmetered, there's a fixed rate for every hydrant. And the PUC and Suez have settled on a 19.97% increase for hydrants. That would impact the town's budget by about $42,200 this year alone. The third part of the settlement agreement is a brand-new charge called a distribution system improvement charge, which allows Suez to bill a surcharge of up to 2.5% a year for new capital projects that they do. And what that does is it allows them to capture some additional revenue without having to go through the full-blown PUC hearing process. There are pros and cons to that. The PUC did agree to cap it at 7.5% between rate filings, although this is the third rate filing since 2012, so it's not really a great deal. The other piece of the puzzle for this is that the direct customers of Suez, so if you live in the Pier or in Bonnet or an area where you're directly sewered or serviced by Suez for water, your bill will go up about 10% as well. There was a hearing that I attended last week. I thought that was going to be the final hearing. It was held over, but we do expect the PUC to render a decision on the settlement agreement later this week. We did put on the record that the council is going to hear it this evening. That may be one of the reasons that they continued it. If you'll recall, and the other frustrating part of this is the timeline. They issued the settlement agreement on September 24th and asked that we have comments back within 48 hours. When I reminded them that the Open Meetings Act doesn't allow us to convene a council meeting and make a decision in that time period, they were like, oh, okay, I guess we have to give you a little bit more time to respond. But my frustration with this, Susan, and the rest of you, is that since 2012, this will be a cumulative 60.2% increase in sales for resale. Now, if I came to you every year and asked for 10% a year for 6 years, you'd probably be looking for a different town engineer.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank
More
you.
than 2 sentences, but sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's great, because I wanted to make sure everybody clearly understood, and the public as well. So all those in favor of the...
Stanley.
Oh, Stanley, come on up.
Go get him, Stanley.
Stan Wachowski, Narragansett. I want to thank Jeff. I can't believe this. 10%, 60% over the years. I wasn't aware of. This is unbelievable. Is it possible for every one of you to go to the PUC meetings and scream at them about this? This is unjust. This is not right. Who can go there? If not one, how many and who can go there? Who of influence can attend that meeting? Do you know somebody, a politician, the governor, or someone to go to that meeting and stop this? They need somebody more than the public. The public is not going to win here, obviously. We need the president. We need somebody, at least the mayor. We need some political high-end person to be there and stop this immediately. Can anyone help? Please, thank you.
Thank you, Stanley. Anybody else wishing to speak?
Madam President, all the information on this water increase was forwarded to the Lieutenant Governor, who said he'd be weighing in, and I contacted the town of South Kingston as well, and they will be weighing in as well.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public wishing to speak? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
4-0, motion passes. Number 13, a motion to award the contract for street lighting, pre-conversion maintenance LED, conversion and post-conversion maintenance to Simon's ITS in the amounts of $750,847.15 and $55,447.20 of pre-conversion maintenance and $17,442 post-conversion. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Pre-conversion maintenance on the streetlights. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Jeff, since you're so close, do you want to talk about the LED lights? Anything? Do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, this is, it's a significant and major long-term undertaking for us. There are a number of pieces to this puzzle. The act that was passed a number of years ago in the General Assembly, the Municipal Streetlight Act, actually I think it goes back to 2014 now, allows us to purchase streetlights and to maintain them on our own. And at first blush, you would look at that and say, why would we want to be in the streetlight business? But when you look at what National Grid charges each community for maintaining and operating the streetlights, just to give you an example, if we were to purchase the streetlights now and start maintaining them, that cost that that was referenced there in the recommendation item, the $55,447 pre-conversion maintenance, that's what it would cost us a year to maintain the 1,500 streetlights in town. The simple payback period on that for us to buy the lights is measured in months, not even in years. In other words, if we buy the lights, we will have recouped that $55,000 in 0.2 years, only a couple of months.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how heavily weighted streetlight maintenance is in the favor of National Grid. And the next piece of it comes in the purchase of the lights, which allows us to convert them to LED for cost savings and allows us to implement what are the industry term is smart controls, but they are logic controls that allow lights to be dimmed, allow lights to be set at different wattage levels at different hours. If the police department were to have an incident in a neighborhood, they could turn the lights brighter in that area where they're looking for someone. Essentially, each one of the 1,500 lights will be independently controlled. And we would be able to monitor that and adjust that as we go. Street lights are still unmetered and will remain unmetered for the near future, but if you embrace a dimming technology like that, you're eligible for a number of different incentives from National Grid along the way. The irony of this is that Grid makes a lot of money on streetlights, but they're actively looking to get out of the streetlight business. There are a number of communities that have already taken this step, the biggest of which is Providence. Providence has converted about 30,000 lights to LED, and they'll be maintaining their own lights from here on out. We're not the first out of the gate on this one, but it's a big step forward to us. When we looked at the proposals that we received and did a cost-benefit analysis of it, the payback period for us to buy the lights, convert them to LED, and install the smart controller systems is about 4 to 4.5 years. That's not a bad payback period for an investment of this type. The lights should have a 20-year life. And if you can buy something with a 20-year life and pay it back in 4.5 years and start making money after that, I think we're doing pretty well. So it's an exciting project. It's a lot of work, but I think we've learned a lot going along the way. This was a joint venture between us, North Kingstown and South Kingstown. We're the first community to make an award. The other two communities are expecting to do so later on this month. But we're excited about it. I think it's a good initiative for us in the long haul.
Thanks, Jeff. Any questions from the council?
Nope.
No? Any questions from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
4-0, motion passes. 14, a motion to approve the purchase of 3 new Motorola dash-mounted radios for police cruiser from Motorola Solutions in the amount of $10,779.09.
So move.
Second?
Second.
Discussion. Discussion from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
4-0, motion passes. 15, a motion to approve the annual service contract for the interoperable radio communication system for Motorola, Inc. in the amount of $39,475.68 for the fiscal year 2018-19, and to authorize the town manager to sign the contract after review of the town solicitor. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Anybody from the public?
Jim, one quick clarification. Is this for both fire and police?
Yes, this is for emergency services.
Thank you.
I know it's very expensive. I've scrutinized this. This is, I've checked with other police departments. This is what it costs.
Thank you. Anybody from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0, motion passes. 15, a motion to award the bid for general construction services to the lowest bidder, Abcor Restoration Company, Inc., at their quoted bid price for a 1-year period. Do I have a motion?
So move.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion from the council? Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0, motion passes. Last motion for the evening, a motion to approve the filling of one vacancy within the wastewater division due to a resignation. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion from the council? Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
4-0, motion passes. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0, motion adjourned. Good night. Good evening.